Some interesting developments over the past few days as it relates to the running back market. 2 running backs have franchise tenders that they have not yet signed as they try to get new contracts. Tony Pollard at the Cowboys, not long into the process, had a moment where he thought, you know what, probably a good idea to just take that $10.1 million, because until you accept it, it can be taken away. So for Josh Jacobs of the Raiders and Saquon Barkley of the Giants, they haven't accepted it. It could still be taken away. Josh Jacobs tweeted over the weekend, sometimes it's not about you. We got to do it for the ones after us. And that is a rare mindset in pro football.
Very.
One of the reasons why strikes don't work stoppages don't work, lockouts don't take. The owners will gladly go without a year of football. The players won't, and it's hard to blame them. You've got short careers. You've got a constant supply of new talent coming in, younger, healthier, bigger, faster, stronger, and you don't want to give up a week, much less a year of your career. So Josh Jacobs taking a stand for something, thinking that there's something he can do that's going to help future running backs. But this is where I fall off the Josh Jacobs bandwagon. Because, Josh, we love you. You're great. Great at what you do. But there's nothing you can do to help anybody other than yourself right now. So help yourself. Don't worry about anybody else. Be selfish, because nothing you can do is going to make it better for running backs. That is a deeper, more detailed problem that you can't solve by refusing to sign your franchise tender and showing up for the Raiders.
I'm with you there. You know, I like where his heart is. I hear him. You know, we talk about this all the time, right, Mike? But don't make yourself the sacrificial lamb here and end up, hurting yourself financially. I don't think I'm with you in the fact that, what are the avenues that you have to really work here? We know you're really good. You are one of the best running backs in football. There's no doubt about that. But we know teams and offenses can function with B+ and B minus running backs and still have really good offenses too. So it's not always a necessity. Teams have found ways to kind of make up for that. But yeah, I'm with you, Mike. And a guy like Josh Jacobs, as special as he is, you don't want to go too far to where, okay, wait, now you're not playing this year. Now you're not getting your money, right? I know we probably want something where it's a long-term deal, some more money, and security for the future. But you're right. I mean, it's just not going to happen. It's not. So I think the best avenue for him is to, come back, play, franchise tag, and continue to beat this drum on this conversation. I think that's the best he can do to help future running backs. But I certainly wouldn't want to see him hurt himself in this conversation and lose money there just to make the point and help, some kid that he doesn't know about 10 years from now or 20 years from now.
The problem is the franchise tag for running backs has gone down as the high-end pay for running backs has gone down. Now, the franchise tag used to be the average of the 5 highest cap numbers at that position in the prior year. Now it's a 5-year rolling average of the cap percentage consumed by the 5 highest paid players at the position, so it smooths out. But what it's done for running backs is it's gone down. And $10.1 million, especially in relation to the other positions. I mean, the quarterback franchise tag is north of $30 million now. Running back, 10.1. And the way that you negotiate a long-term contract off of the franchise tag, typically, and there are fewer typical situations now than there have been in the past. You take what the guys do to make this year. You take next year under the tag. That's a 20% raise. You combine them together and you fully guarantee that. So for Josh Jacobs, it would be $22.22 million fully guaranteed to cover this year and next year, and then the final 3 years are the year-to-year team option, and he may want more than that. He may say, I don't want to go by this formula. So the Raiders could say, fine, we'll tag you this year, and then if you're still effective after this year, we'll tag you again, and we'll pay $22.22 million for the next 2 years. And there's really nothing he can do to reverse that, other than sit out a full year like Le'Veon Bell did. Now, Le'Veon Bell sat out the full year of his second tag, got the Jets to grossly overpay him, and I can't imagine after the Le'Veon Bell example anyone else doing that. If Jacobs plays this year, sits out next year, and then becomes a free agent in 2025, I don't think there's going to be somebody that throws a bunch of money at a running back that hasn't played a whole year and is now, 6-7 years out of college.
No, agreed. I mean, like you talked about, we see guys coming out of college every year who come in and are successful, and they're not necessarily first-round picks, right? So that you just talked about Tony Pollard, right? He was a guy that was a mid-round pick. People didn't even know what he what was going to be in the NFL. You get into Ramondre Stevenson of the Patriots, a mid-round pick, one of the best running backs in football. Algier down in Atlanta, another mid-round pick at a BYU for the Falcons. So that's where teams look at it and go, wait, to spend all that money on this position where, we might not get quite the production out of this guy over here, but it's not worth the difference in the cash. And that's where the running back has to be careful. And, I'm with you. I don't want to see Josh Jacobs, cut off his nose to spite his face here in this one. But at the same time,
damn it.
I did it. And finally, the last 4 days of work of the year, I got it right finally. But what about, here's the other aspect of this. Do the Raiders see any future here with Josh Jacobs? Do they envision maybe more than just this year, to where they would even kick around the idea of, hey, let's sign a 2 or 3 year deal and give a good signing bonus, and maybe we could cut down the yearly cap hit within that. Is it worth it there? That would be the one thing I'd look at for the Raiders. But again, I don't know. That's a dicey situation, and knowing that group coming from New England, they probably don't value one running back quite like that.
Well, and remember how weird it was last year when it felt like he was being showcased at the Hall of Fame game.
Yeah.
And Josh McDaniels thereafter explained to us that this was just about getting him ready. Running backs need to have a certain amount of wear and tear, certain number of hits to get ready to go. But Jacobs still wasn't happy about it. We had him on the show at Super Bowl week, and he was still a little salty about that. Yeah. And you could just tell then that he wasn't real happy with this situation he's found himself in. But it is the reality of the position. It's not the Raiders. It's the running back position. And this new dynamic, this new wrinkle that's been thrown into things, Chris, with Dalvin Cook now officially available to any team that wants him. And Dalvin Cook was due to make $10.4 million. I don't know what you could get him for.
Right. That's the whole key.
But if you could get him for, let's just say 8. Let's say you get him for 8. If you're the Raiders, and hey, we know these teams now. It's analytics. Every player is interchangeable, especially at the running back position. Okay, we were going to keep Josh Jacobs for maybe one more year anyway. He's rejected whatever offers we made on a long-term deal, so we're looking at 10.1 this year and a 20% raise next year if we decide to keep him next year. If we're looking at a one-year arrangement with a running back, let's just go get Dalvin Cook and let's rip the franchise tender off of Josh Jacobs and say, see you later. And that's a risk that Jacobs needs to fully consider, Chris, because whatever would cause the Raiders to do that now, if they would, whether it's Dalvin Cook or they just say, we'll go with a revolving door of no names and we'll block for them and we'll trust that they'll move the chains in our offense like Josh McDaniels saw a revolving door. I don't want to say no names, but not big names.
Yeah, no
in New
stars,
England.
right.
Right, in part because it's all diluted. You avoid having anybody even in position to get franchise tagged. You got 3 guys you're using all the time.
Right.
Nobody becomes the star. So we'll just do that. We'll do that, and we'll say, see you later, Josh Jacobs. If all of a sudden, if the Raiders were to rescind the franchise tag today, what's he going to get on the open market, especially with Dalvin Cook out there? He ain't going to get 10.1.
No, he's not. You're right. He probably won't get 10.1. You're right in that. Do I think that would be bad business by the Raiders and not look good on them to pull that type of move here? With a guy that they drafted and has, done a lot of good things for their organization and was, maybe the best running back in football last year, certainly in that conversation. I don't think that would do good for Josh McDaniels. I don't think it would look good on him. Your point's valid, but to me, it's the price that's a big thing, like what you talked about. It would for the example you set up of, okay, now we know Jacobs making a little north of $10 million. If Dalvin Cook is just going to wants 8, 7.5, whatever, that's not enough of a difference for me to go, oh, let's get rid of the guy that's in the prime of his career and maybe still ascending right now and doesn't have injury issues. That $2 or $3 million save is not worth as much as I like Dalvin Cook, and we've talked about how explosive he is and all of that. for a guy that's coming to the end part of his career, or certainly on the start of the downslope there, with a little bit of an injury history, and we know a concern there with the shoulder and all that. That's, to me, where it doesn't make sense for the Raiders as far as that part of the conversation.
Other guys on the roster now at the position include Brandon Bolden, who's been primarily a special teamer, and he's a guy that Josh McDaniels loves. He makes some cameo appearances on offense. Right. Amir Abdullah is on the roster. I mean, there aren't a lot of names.
They got the kid from Georgia, Zamir White, right, who they drafted last year.
Yes.
Who I think really was drafted to be the replacement for Josh Jacobs for the scenario we're seeing right now, Mike. I think he was really drafted for that. But I think Josh Jacobs was better than maybe the Raiders and that group realized when they got there. I have a feeling that's kind of what happened too. It was like, whoa, we knew he was good, but we didn't know he was best running back in football type good. And we heard a few defensive players, right? We met with one of the Bosas or whatever, tell us that he thought that was the best player he played against this year was Josh Jacobs. But either way, he certainly is a special player at the running back position.
And when Josh McDaniels got the job, one of the first things that I think you and I thought of is, Josh Jacobs is going to have an issue here because McDaniels comes from that offensive mindset of multiple running backs driven by game plan.
Yeah.
What's our game plan?
Right.
Which running back best fits what we plan to do against this defense this week? And it isn't going to be the workhorse every down, pound away, and end up with 1,653 rushing yards like Jacobs did. He forced their hand by being so great. He earned a C on the fly. He was so good last year. And look, are the Raiders going to be high-end contenders this year? I think this is part of the struggle they have.
I agree too.
We still have to put a team on the field that is exciting,
right?
But how much better does Josh Jacobs really make us given where we are? The quarterback position's in flux. We don't know if Garoppolo is going to be healthy. We know that there's reason to wonder whether he's going to stay healthy. Is this a luxury at $10.1 million that we really don't need to afford, but who are people showing up to watch if we don't have Josh Jacobs? That's a problem with having a star running back. It becomes political as it relates to your fan base.
Said that. Yeah.
They want that guy there.
Right. I think you're right. I think that is what happens. And for this case, for a guy that I have great respect in and I played for and worked with in Josh McDaniels, I don't think it would do him any good to get rid of a Josh Jacobs. You're only setting yourself up for disaster. And like you mentioned too, Mike, they just made a big organization-defining move in getting rid of Derek Carr, the guy that we all thought was kind of warm and cozy and going to be with the Raiders for a while. They're making that move and going to Jimmy Garoppolo, which is controversial to a degree. And it is Josh McDaniels, and people do have a microscope on him a little bit. And there's the Devontae Adams and his conversation and what he said. So, and it's the AFC West, and people want results. And to that's where I go, that's why you don't get rid of Josh Jacobs right now, for all of those things. For the very least, it's going to help bring Jimmy Garoppolo along and get things going there to where they can rely on that, and it'll make life easy on them. And I think that's where the value of Josh Jacobs is for the Raiders and Josh McDaniels.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.